Hello, everyone. My name is Stephen Hilborn, and it's my pleasure to be teaching you in this new and exciting upcoming course called Sustainability in Hotel and Resort Operations. So if you are watching this, you are in a Monday section of this course, which means that for the very first week, what is happening is that the course, the introduction to the course of myself and some of the major components will be online. So please feel free to watch this video as many times as possible. And in this video, what I'll do is just give you a brief introduction on myself. I will go through the syllabus and the course outcome a little bit. And then finally, I'll introduce you to what I think is a very exciting major project and some of the assignments leading up to that. After the fact, we will be meeting live on week 2. So I believe that's going to be September 12th at 8 a.m. in B226. All right. So first of all, I'm going to pull up the sustainability syllabus, and we'll go through that a little bit, and we'll talk about it. And just give me one moment. Okay. So in this particular course, what will be happening is that we will be focusing on mostly the 3 pillars of sustainability, which is in the environment, the economy, and also the socio-cultural component of that. We'll examine the impact of adopting different sustainable practices into the design and operation of a hotel and resort space. We'll look at waste, water and energy conservation, sustainable technologies, different ways in which to design smart spaces, and then finally we'll be using a little bit of design software to enhance some of your student learning and productivity. Now, this particular course has no course resources, so there is no text that is required of you. Rather, what we will be doing is providing you a set of different recommended readings, some of which can be testable material that you will have access to throughout the semester. As far as the learning outcomes are involved, we'll look at the 3 pillars of sustainability that I just mentioned. We'll look at some of the worldwide trends in conservation, sustainability, and the green movement. Assess the impact of technology on a hotel and resort design. Discuss some of the different ways that we can be sustainable in regards to water, waste, electrical, and HVAC, which is heating, venting, and air conditioning. Take a look at some of the spaces that already exist maybe out there and do some critique as far as sustainability and functionality. Look into what is LEED, as well as adopt some of the principles of the AODA. So this is essentially how do we design a space so it's accessible for all Ontarians with disabilities. And finally, what we get to do in this whole course, which I think is fantastic, is that we will be doing a sustainability audit on an existing resort property as a partner. So we'll have a real world industry partner. We'll be visiting their site week 8 and week 9 in the semester, completing this audit. And then when we come back to the classroom after the fact, what we'll be doing is compiling out this amazing report that we can then send to them and help them guide their sustainability strategy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through some of the more specific details on the week to week. And again, if you are watching this, we will be reviewing this in the second week of class as well when we're live back in person. Okay? So for the first few weeks, what we'll be doing is reviewing some of what is sustainability from a very top high-end level. So we're going to be looking at what are the 3 pillars, what is sustainability, why does it matter to us? And in the third week, what we'll be doing is we're looking at the United Nations 17 sustainability goals. So we will refer to these as the SDGs, the Sustainability Development Goals. This is in concert with the United Nations, which has developed 17 of these. Georgian College and Canada has signed on to this accord, stating that we will live up to the expectation of the 2030 sustainability development, agenda. So we want to be in the year 2030 at a certain place within Ontario, within Georgian College, within Canada, to adhere to these standards. So this course here in particular What we'll be doing for the first 7 weeks is more content heavy or content specific material, where we'll be reviewing some of the basics of sustainability, but then also looking in how do those particular concepts of sustainability affect the hospitality industry, and more specifically, the hotel and resort industry. So on week 4, we'll have our first in-class assignment as well as a guest speaker. We'll be looking into trends in hospitality, sustainability, green movement, and technology, and also reviewing some of the good life goals. Week 5, 6, and 7 are considered training weeks for our audit, essentially. So because week 6 is going to be a holiday, and we're only going to be able to have a video lecture, week 5 and 7 are very important. And what we'll be doing is on week 5 is a practice audit. So there'll be about an hour and a half lecture where we'll go over the waste avoidance strategy and different ways to be sustainable in regards to water and waste systems. And then we will actually go around the college and measure and audit some of the facilities that we have on site and do some measurements and get an idea of how we will actually do this when we're on the resort property. Week 6 is, again, like I mentioned, is a holiday. So this is Thanksgiving. The Monday class will not exist, so it's just going to be a live lecture, an asynchronous lecture. And what the expectation is of you is that you will review this before the following week. One of the assignments will also be due by Friday at 5 p.m. on this particular day. As we move through, you'll see on week 7, now we're going to start getting into some of the design software component. So this particular week, we look at smart spaces as well as sustainable spaces and basic design principles. And we'll review the AODA and LEED stuff a little bit as well. We'll be using a design software called Microsoft Visio. So we'll do a little bit of in-class training to get you used to it, and then ask you to complete a design software Visio assignment. This particular assignment, because we're doing training the day of, while it is the expectation that you'll be able to finish it in class, we may offer you a little extra time outside of class should you need that. And then we'll have our lovely reading week. On week 8 and 9, there's going to be no in-class material because in those particular days, you will be off at one of the 3 different locations that we've selected to complete our sustainability audits. Now, not every student will be able to go to every property. Essentially, what's going to be happening in the first couple weeks of the semester, you will be divided up into 3 groups within your class, roughly 15 people or so per group. And those groups will be going to, meeting with other groups from other classes and going to one of these 3 locations. So one is the Muskoka Beer Spa, one is the Grand Tapatoo Resort, and another one is the Sherwood Inn. All 3 of these locations are privately owned, so they're not owned by the Marriotts and the Trumps and the larger operations. So most of these don't have a sustainability strategy. So what's going to happen is that all of our students will be going there over, let's say, 24 hours. We will also be enjoying the amenities of the resort, but we'll also be doing some different measurements, speaking with general management, speaking with HR, and reviewing the whole property and doing what we call is a hospitality sustainability audit. After these lovely trips, what we'll do is we'll come back on week 10, meet back in class. We'll have a short lecture on green certifications, and then we'll start debriefing our site visits. At this point, I imagine we'll have taken a lot of pictures, we'll take some videos, and we'll be measuring and recording a lot of data. So we'll have some individual group meetings with everyone, record all the information, and really start the process of what this sustainability audit action plan is going to look like. Week 11 has us doing a little bit of technology and hotel resort operations and design. There'll be a 5% in-class assignment as well as a test review with the final test on week 12. Now, the reason that we're offering this final test a little bit earlier in the semester is because we feel like while the material and testing on the material is important, it's really the hands-on work that we've been doing in class and at the resort property that's the most rewarding and the most tangible for you to, as far as a skill set, for you to take away from this. So the final test will be on week 12. Week 13, we'll have our final group meetings and we'll be going over our reports and trying to streamline and make these very perfect. And then on week 14, the final week of the semester, what you'll be doing is you'll be presenting the report in class. So each group of this final report, and I'll review this a little bit more in detail in class, I'm assuming each group will be about 4 to 6 students with 2 to 3 groups visiting each location that we've mentioned above. Okay, so you won't be able to go to all of these locations, and it's going to be a bit of a surprise raffle on which one you get to go to. So the final report is worth 35%, 20 of which is 20% of that being the report, 10% being a presentation, and 5% being a peer review of your group members. Okay, so I know I went through that fairly quickly. I think I've only been going on for about 6-7 minutes, but that is the 14 weeks in a nutshell. We have more detail and more information as it starts coming in, but the great thing is that this is kind of built to be doing as much activity as possible as opposed to being lectured at. So the idea is it's hands-on as much as we can. When we're in the classroom, which will be a computer lab, we'll be using the computers, we'll be working in our groups, and really accomplishing as much as we possibly can with the hours that we are provided. Okay, so that material right there will be under week 1 on your Blackboard, so you can go and review that at any time. I also want to bring up the major project assignment or major project and assignment breakdown. So, introduction and purpose. We are living in a time of immense challenge, as you probably know, to sustainable development, and as future hospitality leaders, we must look to how our industry can evolve and innovate to protect not only our earth, but the people and cultures within it. So sustainability is not only recognizing the effect of climate change and natural resource depletion, it's also about bringing people out of poverty, challenging youth unemployment, and breaking down barriers that would separate us based on race, religion, and or gender. The issues are overwhelmingly complex, and as a whole, it's difficult to know where to begin. So this sustainability audit and this course is just one small way that I hope that us and you as future hospitality leaders and future hospitality generation of employees can give back and start paving the way to a better, brighter future. So this project will be developed in groups of 5 to 6 students. It might be 4 to 6. It's all dependent on how many students per class. Each group will be given a particular hospitality partner, Muskoka Beer Spa, Sherwood Inn, or Grand Tapatu Resort. And over the course of this semester, we'll complete several small individual assignments and some group assignments, but all of these smaller assignments will lead you to how to complete the final project. So these assignments will train you to not only conduct that hospitality property audit, but also how to compile an engaging report. So it's not only about being able to record this information and make sense of it, but you need to communicate it to our partner and give them some actionable items. So groups will be assigned by myself. There will be a little bit of wiggle room as far as once I've assigned the groups, there might be some back and forth that you can make some swaps, but for the most part, those will have to stay. So there's no changing of group members unless there's a reasonable accommodation. So as professionals, there's an expectation that all group members contribute fairly to this overall project and work together. Final report will have a contract as well as individually marked portions. Any plagiarism, I'll just say right now, any plagiarism in any part of this, it's a 0 in the project and most likely a 0 in the course because of the weight of this project, okay? We have real world working partners. We can't give them information that's not our own, right? We have to present factual and original work. They will be using these reports to hopefully change the way that they do business. So we got to think about that. So a couple things that we will do. So as I mentioned before, there are 17 sustainable development goals. Georgian College has signed on to this, as well as Canada has. So we'll go through the goals individually in class and talk a little bit more about them. But what the audit is about is really, we're going to a property and we're going to take a look at both how they use energy, how they divert waste, and how they use their water. And what we'll do is we'll do some measurements, we'll do some observations. And then when we come back to class, using some of the data and lecture notes that we've already had, plus some of our own research, we'll be able to come up with a way that they can be more sustainable while also not costing them money to become more sustainable. That's the hope. We also want to look at staff engagement. We also want to look at how they treat their employees and what are some of the competitive advantages that we might derive from this audit. Because when we look at sustainability, it's not just about the economy and resource depletion or not using as much. It's also about how we treat our people, specifically the ones that are hard up or closer to the poverty line, or the ones that need the most. So we also will propose some redesigning of areas for increased efficiency. That will be using some of the Microsoft Visio, which is our design software. We want to give them any improvements and ways to implement those improvements on the above areas, so energy, waste, water, or staff engagement. Look for any green certifications that either they may be applicable to use already, or with a certain amount of work they can attain. And then just give them more for funding recommendations for some of these improvements. So as you probably know, that there is a lot of subsidies that the government may offer you based on improving your facilities if it reduces your carbon footprint. So this could be fridges and freezers or windows and thermostats and things like that. The way that we're going to get to there. So all of that might be somewhat overwhelming if I just mention it like that. You've never done a sustainability audit, and to be fair, I haven't done a sustainability audit. We are in this together, and we are going to learn how to do this together. So there is a bunch of different assignments as we go through, which will lead you to prepare yourself to do this. One of which is going to be a trends identification assignment. So this will be one of those 5% in-class assignments, which is on week 4. You will all individually be given a topic to research. We will have a guest speaker come in as well, who's going to help break down how to research an article and paraphrase it so you're not plagiarizing, which is a useful skill for all of us. And it'll be in regards to hospitality, sustainability, climate change, new technology, green movement, local, supporting local, any of those topics that really kind of fall in line with sustainability. Everyone will do some research, they'll find good articles, they'll summarize it for us. And the great thing is that we're going to be able to provide links for all of the classes. We have 140 some odd students between 4 sections, which means 280 articles of fantastic research on how to become more sustainable. That is more than enough information for us to pull from, and it will really help us when it comes to the final report. We'll also do a property breakdown and SWOT analysis. This is a 15% group assignment. I will explain this in detail, but before we're able to provide recommendations to any kind of property, we have to know what they are doing currently. So what amenities do they offer? How many rooms? How do they run their business? Who are their competitors? These are some big questions, and we can do this all in advance to when we actually get to the property. So this is going to be a group project between the 4, 5, or 6 group members that you have, and you'll complete this, I think, submitting it on week 6. We also do a Visio property design. So this is going to be a 5% in-class assignment. This is still to be determined, but I think essentially as the front desk operations have evolved greatly, this is basically a very poorly used space in many of our hotels and resorts, as most check-in policies are now done virtually. So what we're going to be doing is looking at some of these front desk areas that are currently at these resorts and thinking of different ways that we can redesign this space to either generate more revenue, to speed up efficiencies of the check-in policy, or just to provide a different experience for the guest. We have an infographic creation, 5% in-class assignment. This comes down to week 10 or 11. We'll go over this a little bit more in detail, but essentially what we're trying to say there is, as I mentioned before, it's great that we can find data and find measurements and come up with good ideas, but if we can't think of fun and engaging ways to prepare and present this information, it might never be read. It might get lost. So infographics is one of those ways in which we're able to do so. We've also talked about the sustainability practice audit. This is going to be a group assignment, and we'll be going around the campus and finding doing a bunch of different measurements between waste and water and electricity, and coming back to class and sharing some of that information with each other. And that's going to be just a really fun class. And then the final sustainability report, which is the 35% of your group assignment or your total mark, broken up into the report, the presentation, and a peer review. All right. So in a nutshell, we have a lot of assignments that are going to get us to the point where we're able to provide this report. We have an amazing field trip at 3 different possible locations. And as I mentioned before, I'm really excited just about the hands-on component of this course. If I am talking for more than an hour straight at you, it's going to be rare. I would like it to be so we're spending time together, we're learning together, we're working on things together, and hopefully, finally, at the end of this 14-week, we can present this wonderful sustainability strategy to these locations and maybe find some jobs while we're at it. Okay. So, as I said before, my name is Stephen Hilborn. It is my pleasure to be running this course with you. There'll be 2 other instructors with 4 different sections. So Allison Swarbrick will be, which I think you all know very well. She'll be teaching 2 sections, as well as another gentleman named Alan Young. We're all taking this course on either Mondays or Tuesdays. And as I mentioned before as well, on week 8 and week 9 of this semester, we will have no class and will be on site on a few different resorts. Okay, so one thing I guess you can start thinking about is which of those 3 locations do you think that you want to go to? What kind of groups do you want to be in? And really just start going through the syllabus and going through some of the information I provided. There are recommended readings, so if you can read these as you go through, that would be wonderful, and it will really prepare you for what this course will be. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll talk soon.